George Shamoun, and in this video I'm gonna go over how to use the transform property in CSS3, and I'm gonna start with a web page that I built, and then I'm gonna add to it the transform property in the styling sheet, and try different values for the for it. So let's start. Okay, so it will help if you know some basic HTML and CSS. If not, bear with me. I have everything for you here in a code. So what I did, I built this web page here, and this is the index HTML page, and this is the main, this is the styling sheet here. So basically I'm gonna let me make my picture smaller. Put it here maybe. Okay, what I'm gonna do, this is the styling sheet, the main.css, and this is the code already, and the combination of the index.html page and the main.css, which is the styling sheet, produced this result. So instead of starting from scratch, because this will take time, and it's not the intention of this video. The intention is to show you how to use the transform property in CSS3, and it's going to be applied on this web page. So I had this ready, and in case you're interested in trying it on your own computer, there are two ways to download it. The first way is for free, and the description and the link are in the description. So the first one is for free. That's if you join my email list. You get a welcome message immediately, and you get to download the codes, the HTML and the main CSS, the style sheet. And the second method, you can pay for it, but you'll get 1 hour with me. It's one-on-one, 1 hour, to help you if you have any questions with this code. So let's get started. So if we never met before, my name is George Shamoun, and I make video tutorials about software and software as a service that I use myself. I'm not very advanced, but I like the technology and using the software to do certain tasks. So let's get started. So in order to use the transform property in CSS3, we have to go to a page which is a good reference. It's the w3school.com, and it's, let me see, W3. Okay, the W3, and this is a great reference, one of the great references online. The W3 school, it's got a lot of codes and helpful resources about using HTML, CSS, and other programming languages. But in this case, we're using the CSS3 and the HTML5. So looking at the transform properties, this is what we're gonna be using here. The transform CSS transition transform. Okay, so looking at this reference page here, we can for 3D. Let's go back to the 2Ds. Okay, the 2D I need. Okay, this is not gonna cover everything, but it covers a lot. I'm gonna cover like four types. Okay, so I wanna cover the translate where you can move the object along the X or Y. This is the 2D transform, and I'm gonna use the translate value. I'm gonna use the scale, and the scale where you can change the element width and height, and also the scale you can do it along one axis. And the skew you use angles to skew the form, the shape of the 2D, and then we can use translate rotate. The rotate is important too. It rotates uh, at a specific angle the element. So let's get started. So this page here, it's got box 1, 2, 3, 4, and each box is in a rectangular. This is part of the box because I built those cubes in Inkscape, and I'm using them in this web page, and part of the cube is this background, the rectangles behind it, and I changed the color using these codes here. So we can apply the transform to one or more of those boxes. So the way we do it is we kind of go down to cube 1. This is cube 1. This is the styling of cube 1. I have the background yellow, and I have a border for it here. And the way we use transform is we type transform here, transform, and you can get these values here. And again, I'm using Visual Studio Code. This is recommended by a lot of expert web developers, and you have to learn how to use it. It's not that difficult, but it's very helpful. It's got so many features to help you if you're starting you, because nobody can remember all the codes. So once I type transform, it's gonna give you a list of options. So this you don't have to remember, but you have to know how to use them. Let's say we can start with the translate. So if we go down to the translate, okay, translate X. When you have X, it means you're doing the action along the X axis, and or the Y axis or the Z. Basically, the X axis is the horizontal axis, the Y is the vertical, and the Z is the one which is perpendicular to the X and Y. It means it's coming straight at you from the page, from the plane. So let's try to use translate X for cube 1, and we can use it at the X axis, at the horizontal axis, which is the X. And let's say I have to use 1.5. It means it's gonna get 1.5 bigger, 1.5. So let's see, translate transform X and okay, so the translate is moving along the axis, and it doesn't look like this will move because it's inside those. So let me see. No, actually, let's see how to use it. Skew the transform. Okay, it looks like it's not. Let me try layer 3. Hmm. Translate. Okay, I guess I was using the wrong unit. I had to use the the pixel. It looks like. I mean, I might be able to use something else, but I was using the wrong unit. So okay, so the translate we're talking about. We're trying to use the translate X along this. We're gonna use, let's say, 50 pixel. And if you look at the box one, it moved 50 pixels. Let's say I wanna move it 100 pixel. It's gonna move more. 200. It's gonna move more. Let's say 500. It moves to this point. So let's say I wanna move this. Use the same thing, transform, and we go down here, and if we use 400, so it's here. Let's say I wanna move box 3. Let's see, 100. So this one we didn't move it much. Let's say I wanna move 4, just 10 pixels. Okay, so the 4 we just moved the 10 pixel from its position, from its original location. The 3 was moved 100 pixel. The 2 was moved 400 pixel, and the cube 1 was moved 500 pixels. So let's remove those. So this is the first one. This is how we use the translate function. Let's see. Translate function. Okay, this is how we use the translate. Now we can use the translate. I'm gonna use the rotate. The rotate. Let's say first let's remove those. So the cubes are moved back to their original positions. And remove this. Okay, now I'm gonna use the rotate value, so the transform here, and you get the those options. Let's use this rotate along the X, and I'm gonna use it for every cube, and then okay, let's say I want to rotate cube 1 10 degrees. You have to specify degree DEG. Okay, it moved a little bit, not much. Let's use the 20 degrees. Let's use the 30, 40. Okay, the 40 you start noticing more the cube is being rotated. So if you use 10, you may not notice it much. But I'm looking at it here, it moves a very small amount. Let's use 45 degrees. And now you see it rotated about 45 degrees. Let's see number 2 here. Let's give it 75 degrees. And if you notice, it rotated more than 1 because we gave it more higher degrees. Let's try 90 for cube 3, 90 degree. And it disappeared because it was reduced, I guess, to 1 plane. So let's give it less, maybe 80 degrees. Yeah, it's right here. So it was reduced to a plane. Let's give it 60 degrees. Okay, this is 60 here. And number 4, let's give it 50. So this is rotated 2, and we have, it didn't rotate yet. I guess we have to give it a DEG. So if you see, it rotated. So this is how you use the transform rotate value, the transform attribute, and using the rotate value, and that's along the X axis. And if you want to change, if you want to rotate it along the Y axis, the vertical axis, you can replace the X with a Y. With a Y, this is 2 going to 1. So if you notice, it's rotating around the Y axis. Let's see cube 3, Y, cube 3. Let's see cube 4. So these now rotated along the Y axis. Okay, let's try to remove that. Let's see this. Okay, let's try the Z. Okay, let me try. Okay, let's put them back the way they were, and then we'll add the transform rotate Z. Okay, now this is the way they were originally. Now let's try the rotate along the Z, which is this one here. Okay, so it rotated around the Z axis, which is coming out of the plane towards me and the screen. So let's try number 2 here. Let's try 90 degrees. So it rotated 90 degrees, and this is, let's give it 60 degrees. That's cube 3, and this is 60 degrees. And let's rotate 400 degrees. So this is how they look now when we rotate them at different, each one has different angle, but it's around the Z axis, which is coming out of the plane. And so this is how you use the rotate. It's got other functions, other variables, but I'm not gonna cover everything. But if you need a good reference, one of the good references is W3 School. You go here to w3schools.com, and you got a lot of references and resources for the HTML, CSS, and other languages. But now I am in the HTML, CSS, and you choose what you're looking for, what attributes, and you read about it and you try it, you know. So now I'm talking about the transform attributes in CSS3, and this is where I was looking. I'm relying on this, even though it is in a Visual Studio Code, but this is explained here how you use them, and they have examples. So let's put this back here. Okay, so I'm gonna use the scale value here. Okay, so let's remove those so we can have the cubes return to their original location. This one here, remove this, and we remove this one here. But we keep that transform because we can reuse it. Okay, so we can use, everything is back to its original place. We can use now the scale X. So we can scale, and how use the scale. Let's go down. This is the scale. Okay, the scale will increase or decrease the dimensions. It depends what we use. So if we use transform scale, and we can go along the X axis. Let's see if we used 2. I'm at cube 2. Okay, let me go start with the cube 1. This is cube 1. Okay, so what happened with the scale along the scale x? It means, and between parentheses, how much we have to scale it. So in this case, it's getting stretched or bigger, enlarged twice, 2 times along the x-axis. And if we try it, let's try the other box, the second box here. Let's give it 1.5. So 1.5, its size, it's enlarged along the x-axis. Let's try if we try 3, it's gonna be 3 times. And number 4, let's try number 4. Let's try the 1.25. So we only enlarged it 25, the y-axis. Let's try to go y. Okay, so you see it got scaled twice along the y-axis, and keeping this original. This one is original. So if you notice, 2, 3, and 4 stayed the same. We didn't do any transform, any scale, and we did scale 2 times on box number 1 along the y-axis. This is the y-axis. It means it got elongated twice, got bigger twice. Let's say we have to use, we can use scale. Let's see, scale. If we use a scale without x, y, z, it looks like both dimensions get enlarged the same rate, the same value. So let me just see, transform. Transform scale. Okay, the scale, I say 2 by 2. Okay, it looks like if we don't use x or y or z, we just use the scale, and between parentheses is 2, because this is for 2-dimensional. It's gonna get twice larger on both sides, so it does not get deformed. The same one will be enlarged, you know, the same proportion, both dimensions. It doesn't get distorted. And let's put it back to the original. Okay, and if you notice scale 1, it means it stayed the same. So let's try cube number 2. Cube number 2, let's give it a scale of 3, 3. Okay, so it looks like it got bigger 3 times in both direction, x, the y direction. So this is the same as if using 3 with the scale property without x, y, or z, so it's not gonna change. Let me just remove it. Yeah, it stays the same. So this is how you use a scale, transform, scale, and you can use one number here and to designate the scale in both sides, both dimensions, x and y, and you can use the x whenever you want to scale it in an on an x-axis, or y, scale y on an axis like we used before, and you use those numbers here. And you can also use two numbers, 3 comma 3 for example, and it's gonna do the same thing, 3 in each direction. It gets large. So this is how you use scale. Again, the reference, it's right here, the CSS, because I cannot remember those, you know. So with the help of WA3 schools and Visual Studio Code, you know, I'm getting those information, you know. But you have to know how to use them, how to set it up on a page. That's the main thing. Let's remove the scale. Now I'm gonna use the skew. I think I didn't use the skew yet. So back to the original and go into cube 1. So we use the scale, we use the scale, let's use the, so the skew um, will that's the, as the name implies, it's gonna skew the element certain degrees. So let's say I want to skew the number, this box, so many 45 degrees, let's say. So what I do here, transform, and we go down, choose skew in a x direction this time. We can try the x here, and we can give it some angle. Let's say we gave it 45 degrees. Okay, so it gets skewed 45 degrees, you know. It's and if we do 90, it's gonna disappear. We don't see it anymore. Yeah, so it disappeared because this is the x. Okay, it's the 90 degrees will give it this like a very thin line or one line. That's why it disappeared. But if you give it less, let's get 70 degrees, it start appearing again. So so you don't want to give it 90 degrees. It looks like it disappears, you know. And the 70, let's give it 10 degrees. Okay, if you see how it's skewed 10 degrees along the x-axis. So basically it's going like that along the x, the horizontal. And if we do it along the let's try the other one, the second box, the second cube, and we can give the second cube 20 degrees to see how it looks like. Let's give it 20 degrees, and it's a little bit more skewed, little bit, not much, you know. So let's try to give number 3 30 degrees. It's gonna be a little bit more. So you see it's getting more skewed as you add the angles, you increase the angles. So first we started with 10, then 20, then 30. So this is to show you how, in which direction it's adding the skew. This way, you know, you can notice it. And let's say, let's give this 45 degrees. 45 degrees. So this is the most one skewed for 45 degrees along the x-axis. Let's try on along the y-axis. So if we did the y, the skew y, and it's gonna do it along the y-axis. This is the y, the horizontal, the vertical, and when it's skewed in a vertical direction, it's gonna go this way. That's the vertical. This is why you see it that way. And let's try to skew this in a Y direction. Same thing, it's skewed more. Let's change this to Y. This is 3. Let's change this to Y here. And you can see it's skewed more. Okay, let me try to use the, I think we can use the Z direction. The Z, I don't know how it's gonna look like, the Z direction. Yeah, it doesn't look like, we're, so I shouldn't be talking about the Z axis because we are in the, I'm working on a 2D transform method. We didn't get to the 3D, and I don't think I'm gonna cover it because if you understand how to use the 2D, you just add one dimension to get to the 3D, and you can follow the instructions here in W3 school. So that's it for the skew. Now we can use, I think we use the rotate, we use the scale, and we use the translate. So again, let's use them again one more time. So the first one, the first group, I'm gonna remove those variables, those values from the attribute. Use this. Now we know how to use them. We can use them all at the same time. Okay, so all the cubes 1, 2, 3, 4 are back to the original location. So now, okay, let's use translate for 1. So translate, transform, translate. Let's translate along the x-axis 50 pixel. 50px. So this is how we use again the translate. So what I'm doing now, I'm using the 4 in one example, like for each separate cube we can use different attributes value. So the first one we use the translate x, and we used 50px value. So cube 1 moved 50px pixel. So so excuse me, number 2, cube number 2, we can use the rotate. I'm gonna use actually the scale. Let's use the scale along the x-axis. So we can use scale along the x-axis, and we can make it twice. So watch cube number 2 expanding twice. Okay, so we did that. Now let's try for cube 3. So we tried the scale and translate. Let's try for cube 3 the rotation. Cube 3 rotate around the x and give it 45 degrees. Okay, so cube number 3, it rotated. Where is it? Okay, let me try again to see if okay, so this is cube 3. We can give it 45 degrees to see if it's rotating. 45 degree cube 3. I think it rotated a little bit. Let me see. Let me give it a larger angle. Yeah, it rotated more. So let's give it 10. Okay, 10 cube 3. See, 10. It didn't move much. So if we give it 100 degrees, so you see how much it moves a lot. 100 degrees. Give it 90. 90, it's gonna disappear. Okay, so give it 170. Okay, so it rotated more, 170 degrees. Let's give it 180. Okay, so you see it rotated 180 degrees. Okay, so 180. So we used so far again, like we used before, the translate, the scale, and the rotate, and now we can use the skew. Transform, skew. Okay, we can use skew for number 4. Skew along the x-axis, and the skew is an angle. So if you look here in the reference, right here, the skew is an angle. You skew it along the x, y, and x and y. I just specified in that parameter. Okay, the skew. So let's use the skew along the x-axis, and it's gonna be in degrees. So skew. Let's look at number 4. We can skew it 40 degrees, 45 degrees, 45 degrees. So this is, so we skewed it along the x-axis. That's why it went like this, 45 degrees, 45. But this is how it changed along the x. If we use it again along the y, it's gonna go like that. So this is the y, and you can tell it went like that. So that's it, guys, for this video. So we covered so far the scale, which makes the size bigger of the element, and we discussed the transform and the scale using the scale value. And then we used the transform attribute with the rotate value, and we gave it a parameter, the degrees. And then we use the skew, where it skews the element along the y or x axis, and it has to be in degrees. And then we use the translate, where it moves the element along the x or y axis when it comes to 2D transform method. So that's it for this video. So let me go back and put them, remove those, back, remove this, and remove this, and remove this, and now this is back to normal. This is how I started from the beginning, and as you can tell, I used those the transform values, attributes, and their values, and some parameters with them, and you saw how it changed the shapes on the screen on a web page of cube number 1, 2, 3, and 4. And since it takes a lot of time, if I wanted to build it from scratch, I started with the web page ready, and just to use the transform attribute in CSS3 to show you what it does with its values. And again, if you have any questions, submit them in the comments. You can email me, you can send me a tweet, and if you're interested in the codes and you wanna regenerate or create it on your own computer to get more training better, you can download the codes, and the links are in the description. One way you can get them for free if you join my email list, and the other way you can get you can pay for them, but you will get 1 hour one-on-one with me. It's included for free when you purchase the codes. And that's it for this video. If you have any questions or comments, please submit them in the comments, or you can email me too. My email is in the description box too. And again, my name is George Shamoun, and I want to thank you for your time watching this video, whether you are on this live stream now or in the future. Have a great day, evening, it depends where you are.